now engaged. Okay? Now Katie Hobbs is just thrown down. She got the pink shirt observers, and this is what they're throwing. I don't want to give the answers here because it's most important that the folks out there in Maricopa County that are doing this, the patriots doing this, they're going to have full answers in this. But Maureen, you've had a short few minutes to go through this. I know you've been all over this story. Tell us a couple of highlights in this.
So this letter is broken down into two subsections of concerns. And in the first one, the concerns based on disclosed procedures. The big one is number 6, the forensic audit of ballots lacks any credibility or basis in actual election operations. And then in the second half, where the concerns based on observation, the first two, there's inadequate physical security of ballots, and there was no live streaming or observer access to the forensic processing of Maricopa County's election equipment.
Okay, now they've hit a hot button. As Mo Bannon's pointed out, I want to get this into the live chat. I want to get it up on the website. The forensic audit, and they put that in quotes, of ballots lacks any credibility or basis in actual election operations. They are so petrified about this. They are so petrified about this. I got news for Katie Hobbs. This is happening. And this is the mainstream media with all their, there's no foundation of this, there's no substance of this, and now they're coming in early and they're coming in hot because they understand what's happening. This is a very detailed letter. If you are following this story and you're interested about November 3rd, you've got to engage at home. You've got to read this. You've got to share this letter. You've got to talk about it. I know Gateway Pundit's going to be doing a big story about it. One America's doing a great job. You got the team, Heather Mullins, and the team here at Real America's Voice going to get, I understand from Real America's Voice, there's going to be other assets sent out there. This story is everything. And if you don't think the progressive left and the Democratic Party, and this is the Katie Hobbs, Secretary of State, and you see her on TV, every day on MSNBC and CNN, she's going to be all over tonight. Write this down. They're going to hit the whole unit at MSNBC and CNN is going to have her up there. They're going to have the letter. They're going to say this is all this is a psyops information warfare program right now to say this thing's totally illegitimate. I've got a 6-page letter with 13 things and it's no operations, nothing. And the folks out there, I've already talked to people when this thing just got dropped. The reason they wanted to do this, hey. There's no conspiracy and there are no coincidences. Do you think it's like when Maricopa County's got to come back and say, bury the lead down the last line of the paragraph? By the way, what they said in the first part of the letter was bad enough. But to say, oh, by the way, we don't have the password. So, Katie, here's the question. If you're so on top of things and your operations are so squared away and you're so on top of things, why didn't you know that from Maricopa County? Why didn't you know that? Your Secretary of State, your team and due diligence didn't go through all this? When you certified this, I assume those machines and everything. Look, remember, we're not machine guys. We're saying there's enough low-hanging fruit for the others. We're the Peter Navarro team, right? We've got this just on that. But the machines got to be dealt with. Here's where I am on machines. They all got to come out. We got to go back to hand ballots and physical ballots. They got to be counted. If every high school kid's got to be given 2 days off as a national holiday that we count, then that's what we do. We count. You got to get rid of the machines. And, hey, Dominion and all these other companies, I'm not picking on you. I'm just saying, hey, let's stop the nonsense and let's just go back to the old days. But in this situation where all these lawsuits are flying around and everything like that, I'm saying, Katie, if you're so squared away and your office is so squared away, how come something so basic like that? And now they're going to say, oh, it's no big deal. It's nothing to do. This is another thing, a bunch of wingnuts. They're all saying this. Just saying. Look, we'll get the technical thing worked out with Melissa Hooray and the folks at Linda. The reason I wanted to have them on, they've started a podcast. I want to get everybody access. We'll put in the live chat. That's a heroic team over there. It takes courage to do what Mike Lindell's doing. It takes courage to what Rudy Giuliani's doing. Rudy Giuliani's got the jack boots coming in at 6 o'clock in the morning. They're not going to Antifa. They're not rounding up anybody. They're not arresting anybody. They're not doing it. They got to go to Rudy Giuliani, the guy that's done more to save the greatest city in the world, New York City, than any living individual. De Blasio's let descend into anarchy. Rudy Giuliani took it out of the anarchy back in the 80s. Okay? And yet, no, the jackboots got to go in at 6 o'clock because of a FARA violation? That was on the one, a FARA violation? Will you give me a break? There's 10,000 FARA violations every day in this city. Every day in this city. And if you're going to start far about, and this is not whataboutism, Hunter Biden and the corrupt crime family that is the Bidens, right? Let's start there, and let's start with the hard drive from hell. This takes guts. And what they're finding out, what you're going to find out now in Arizona, the time of testing is upon us. And that's why you see April Carney. They're bringing heat. You compare Fauci and that spin, and you compare Stephanie Ruhle as a mother, and Savannah Guthrie as a mother, not as left-wing journalists, as mothers, you can see the concern. And Fauci spinning them and just look in the eyes. Hey, they're saying, wow. April Carney's having enough of it, right? And having none of it. This is a time of testing. And when you're tested, when you're weighed and measured, how's history going to think about you? How are you going to think about you? This is a fourth turning, okay? No doubt about it. And we're going to be judged by people hundreds of years from now